Guys, some say that he invented Halloween, and like a bat, he sleeps naked and upside down. Like the Chinese fruit bat, once he's finished making love, he bites the head clean off his victims. Legend has it that if he could be bothered, he could crack the Da Vinci Code in 43.0 seconds flat. But his real claim to fame, though, is that he once had full unprotected sex with Satoshi's answering machine. All we know him as is Mr. Jack Kevin. Jack, how you doing?
Hey guys, I know I've been called Chinese Twitter Spaces that I attended, so thank you for that. That is like the sole reason to be here.
You're more than welcome. I'm hoping that we can have like a bit of a thing going forward. Maybe we can be the space where people can ask the questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But guys, there is a caveat to this space, and I think it's important. The space is being recorded, and it'll be pinned when it's finished. But the caveat is that I just wanted to say that nothing that's said by me or any of the other speakers or Jack should be taken as financial or legal advice. And additionally, regarding the cryptocurrency and Jack Levin stream, it was made clear that the first proposal was a draft proposal, and it's always going to be subject to change. So just to caveat that would be good. But Jack, how are you doing?
I'm good. I have a question actually for you, Cleo.
Go.
Do you have a tattoo on your neck?
I have a I'm covered in tattoos. I've got tattoos on my neck, my throat, the back of my neck, my chest, my back. I've even got I've got an interesting tattoo down below, which I had when I was younger. Cleo's a bit of a wild card, adventurous, spontaneous, but my intentions are good.
Right. Can we have pictures of all of them so that we can make them into ordinals and send them for millions of dollars?
Ooh, yes, that's a good idea. Yes, I'm going to get onto that. The only one I can't share is of my intimate tattoo, because we want to make money, not lose money. But yeah. So I want to get straight into it. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks since the kindness stream. The space has, I mean, we've been holding, like you said, me and Clout, etc. We're in the trenches with, because we hold these spaces, and it's been very, very interesting, very interesting. And I think it would be good to maybe have a brief chat about it. What do you think the biggest issue's been in the community since you had that stream of kindness?
I think there was a lot of information released, and it takes a little bit of time to digest it. So that's why we're doing follow-up spaces and streams and things like that, because we dumped a lot of information to people in the light paper, and obviously people have questions, concerns. They're trying to come up with the proper investment strategy, like to see what they should be doing in the next month, and the next day, for the next year, like all of those things. So I think one of the issues that it's just a lot of information to take in, and people are some people feel really great, like in terms of what's coming, and some people feel very agitated because they made certain decisions based on previous conversations, and they feel like they're getting I wouldn't say they're getting rugged, but definitely their theories of what's coming in is not coming into kind of like it's not really a solid type of. It's always a fluid situation. That's the thing, and a lot of people are feeling concerned for their money, which is actually really valid concern. And so we're here to address those concerns and explain our strategy internally, exactly what we're trying to do, like why Bitcoin, why now, what are all those things that we're trying to accomplish, all of those things. So we're here to take questions, to be completely transparent, to talk about fair crypto, what it means to us, what it should mean to participants, and so that they can align their actions and their interests with this project.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And actually, interestingly, we had a space yesterday. We've had quite a few spaces actually, and one of the ideas that I put forth to the community was the concept of Zen itself, in that it's fair crypto, fair principles, etc., etc. Now, I believe the word fair is potentially being used in the wrong context. And the reason for that is because at the end of the day, you are a project founder, a business owner, you're a businessman as well as an entrepreneur, etc. And you need to be motivated yourself in building this, because at the end of the day, you're not going to do this for free. So my proposition to the community was, what if the XN allocation, for example, had an allocation for you? And what I mean by that is, you are the project owner, you're the designer, you're the guy that's spending the hours developing it, you're the guy paying the wages of the teams. Would it be fair for you to come out to the community and say, actually, there's going to be a 30% allocation for me and my team, because we built this? That is fair. It's not unreasonable for a businessman or an entrepreneur to reap benefits financially out of the project or business he is creating and running. What do you think, that potentially people are under a misillusion in that they think fair principles is in fact that the builders and owners shouldn't get anything at all?
So there's different ways to think about it. And by the way, the XN X1 allocation in version 1, when it was proposed, it was actually proposed that the team does get some allocation to begin with outside of the market forces, so that we can use the funds to create the systems and build the systems faster, actually have money to get good developers on board and have ability to pay them, which is actually has been a de facto standard for pretty much every project in crypto that I have seen when it comes
And
to
business, you have
and
to have an income.
yeah, I mean it is true that if you look at the crypto as business, then that would be the way you would do it. What I realized, however, is that the ideology has a stronger impact than the actual business creation. I don't want to create the business for the sake of business creation. I want to have the biggest community, the biggest blockchain, and I want people to actually have a fair chance at pretty much everything. And so I think that is what ultimately swayed my decision not to have any allocation for the team at all, because I think the marketing potential for a chain that truly belongs to the people has a stronger impact of getting more people on board. And we can find ways to build businesses on the systems we're creating, simply by building the protocols and projects that people want to participate in. So the incentives for creation of profitable enterprises will be there. I just don't think it should be done on the infrastructure level. Like, I don't think we should get paid for infrastructure. I think at some point everyone has a chance to get paid if they build amazing stuff on the infrastructure. But the infrastructure, I think, should really belong to people in the most decentralized way it's possible to create. Like, specifically, if you look at the, like, let's say top 10 chains were ever created in the last 5 years, all of them have allocation, and allocation for the team, that is, and also for marketing and the tokens for promotion on centralized exchanges, like all of that. So that has been the de facto standard. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a new standard that actually involves even more people and have people feel like they're all part of the game. Like, there's no prioritized interested parties. And the reason for that, besides marketing, because obviously marketing is very, very important. You want your project to be visible. But the other thing is that we want this to be a community chain, like literally open source. Anybody can be a validator. Everybody starts from the equal playing field in terms of how they can get the tokens, like, so to speak. So that's why I felt that going back to Zen and how Zen was created, which is pretty much I would say the one of the I wouldn't say it's the first one. The first one was Bitcoin, obviously, but even with Bitcoin, Satoshi pre-mined 1 million Bitcoins and whatnot. But that's like not his fault, because nobody knew what crypto was 13 years ago or 12 years ago. But now people know what it is, and we really wanted to start from the same starting line for everyone. And I think that's actually even more powerful than just like doing, approaching this from a very standard method, where the team gets a giant bag and then they just end up selling. And also, like, from the regulatory perspective, there will be no question that XN as a security or it has utility. Is definitely not going to be a security, because nobody's holding XN and then giving XN utility as we go along. It's really just minted by the community itself. So I think that's really, really important. It's going back to the roots of how crypto was originally created. And I feel like Zen definitely is one of those pioneers in the Ethereum space and closely mimics Bitcoin creation. And that's kind of like what's really, really, really keeping me excited, getting me even more excited every day. So that's what I would say about that.
Well, okay, so I guess in regards to questions, I'll hit it off with a question of my own.
Yeah.
So one of the issues which, and in my opinion, it's one of the biggest issues, or the biggest divisions in the community, with the proposal which was made on the Kindness Show, is in relation to third-party projects such as DBZen, XLON. Now, obviously, the proposal, they're not happy about the current proposal. And having thought about things, it's kind of left me feeling a bit like, what incentive is there for builders and founders to build on top of Zen and X1? Because obviously, like we've seen with that Exelon Mars, it pumped and then dumped. Like, obviously, a lot of crypto projects do, but we've more or less heard nothing from the team. So I guess my question is, do you plan on doing more to incentivize the builders and founders that actually really bring, strong intrinsic value to Zen and ultimately X1?
So I think it's really up to the founders. I think the projects can be built on top of Zen, because Zen is really a building block. It was designed to be a building block. It was designed that can happen. Giant community that we have, they don't have to spend any.
You're cutting up a little bit, Jack. You're in and out, kind of cutting out. Is it just me?
Now?
No, he's running a bit.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
We missed about 10 seconds.
Testing.
Yep.
Okay. I'm in a different Wi-Fi now. It should be better. Let me just double check to make sure it still works. You guys hear me okay, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So think about it this way. So Zen has a giant community. It's a building block. Anybody can come and build in it, and they can tap into the community right away without needing to market anything. Like DXN would not exist if it wasn't for Zen. So DXN came along and build its project on the community participation, which is exactly what we want. And I think others can do the same. And that is actually what makes it so interesting, is that Zen was designed to be burned, to be, first of all, obviously it's minted so that you can have a lot of tokens everywhere in everybody's pockets on 12 different chains now, and people can build on all of those chains and get a faster, I would say, boost to get their projects forward in front of the people. And we saw that happen with Phoenix, with DXN, DBZen, and it's actually pretty amazing. I think DXN, for example, is one of my most favorite protocols out there. I really like it. I think they did a great job, and I really would like to see more of DXN-like projects to be built on top of Zen, so that we can have even more usability for Zen. So ultimately, I think going forward, working with the developers closely and giving them the chance to build something amazing is something that we're very much aligned with.
Okay. And I guess from my own perspective, will the current proposal at some point, is it going to change where you can burn DXN for XN?
So we thought very, very long and hard about this. And just to give you a disclaimer, I do own quite a bit of DXN. I never sold. I always bought. So I have a pretty large position there, and I'm sure other people do as well. And the thinking with DXN of being plugged into XN allocation, there's obviously positives for people that hold DXN, but it's a negative for DXN version 2 that somebody else will come up with. Like if you think about it, if we single out a project and give them special privileges or build on top of DXN, that actually will cause, I would say, disenfranchising for other new projects that are coming that actually will continue to pump Zen. So the system needs to be balanced, and I felt that just selecting the sort of like the project will make other people feel like they shouldn't be building anything just because it's already been done. And so because we're really focused on the longevity of the value for Zen, and there's a lot more people that have Zen and they're minting Zen than the actual DXN holders. So that was the decision for not choosing any project, but pretty much just sticking with Zen when it comes to allocation. And of course, I mean, the immediate next question is like, okay, well, what about VMPX? That's a project. So I feel like VMPX has a very, very special role to play. Like I feel like it's very closely related to Zen elements in terms of the fair launch on Bitcoin, and that's why we're choosing VMPX to be used to actually get incentives to people, so that if you hold VMPX on Ethereum, for example, you have an option. It's not the requirement. It's an option to convert into XEN if you want to. And it is obviously our project, but we're focusing on giving longevity to Zen first and foremost. And also, like, I wanted to speak about like X1, like what is X1 and why do we need it? So I would actually argue that building another blockchain on top, building another project that's L1, the world doesn't need so many L1s out there without something that's really, really special. So I felt like the connection to Bitcoin is one of those new things that other chains do not have. And if X1 becomes this interconnecting system that connects the Bitcoin world to Ethereum world, is actually what sets us apart from all of the other L1s. I mean, of course, besides being fairly launched and open source and anybody can be a validator, really just belong the chain and will end up belonging to the community itself, right? So that's important. But the other thing that's important are features within the chain, and we're working hard on getting the bridge designed to connect Bitcoin into the Ethereum ecosystem, and Ethereum ecosystem to be plugged into Bitcoin, because it hasn't been done before in a trustless manner. Like, for example, should you want to do anything but Bitcoin, you're going to have to sell your Ethereum on a centralized exchange, give up your self-custody, convert to Bitcoin, then eventually transmit Bitcoin back to you. It's an okay way to do it, but a better way would be a decentralized system that allows people to just swap trustlessly from Ethereum to Bitcoin and from Bitcoin to Ethereum. So that is what I'm very, very excited about. I think it's going to be a power feature. So that's why VMPX exists.
One of the first things that I thought of when I heard the narrative of the 333 day auction is that it sounds almost similar to DBZen itself. What would you say in relation to that?
It is similar. It's actually not a new method. Like, specifically, we're modeling the 333 distribution based on EOS launch. So EOS, for the guys that don't know, has raised $4 billion with very, very similar auction on Ethereum. So they had an open source blockchain that was coming up, and they launched the gas token distribution on Ethereum, which was actually a good thing because it gave them the market on the largest ecosystem when it comes to programmable money. So we're modeling based on that. The adjustment is that we don't get $4 billion and we don't get any money at all. It's just fairly launched, and everybody can get VMPX on Ethereum through their own effort and through their own participation. So that is, and obviously by burning Zen. So if you don't have Zen, or if you're a minter in the future, and if you want to participate in the XN distribution, you would have to buy Zen on the market, which actually would cause Zen to rise up on the chart, which is ultimately what we want as well. We want a bigger market cap on Zen, and the 333 auction is one of those key features that's coming up in a couple of months that will help Zen to pump on Ethereum, but also on every other chain as well, because we think that we're going to launch it on all the chains too.
Nice. Well, that's helped me. Thanks for that, Jack. So I guess Clout, do you want to open up?
Yeah, it looks like we got a bunch of hands, and I've been a good co-host in keeping exact order. Thank you for being here, Jack, Sensu, Raz. We've got some great people in the room. Share the space, comment some questions below. We're trying to get everything down, get a really good recorded space. This is definitely one for the books. So we've got Levin, Atticus, Zendigen, Sean, and then Simple. Shahan, and then Simple. Yeah. So Levin, go ahead.
Hey, Jack, hope you're doing good there. So just a quick question I want to ask in regards to incentivizing developers to come and build on the Zen ecosystem overall. And that is to basically create some sort of incentive for the community to participate, where they can basically either lock up their Zen and to basically fund some of the developers. to like a yield generating protocol where it generates yield for the developers so that they can basically build. And then at the end of that term, that actual Zen gets basically burnt out, which helps the community overall, and it funds the developers. And also, the community who participated in such option would be rewarded with like a developer's NFT or something like that, where they can actually go out and trade and have some sort of value attached to it. Just a way to basically grow the community, the developers to come into it.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I was thinking about the variation of the idea, so definitely we should maybe talk and explore in more detail what you're thinking. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's few things we could do that actually would stimulate even more building. So anything that aligns with that goal, I very much I would welcome.
All right, and then we got Atticus next.
Hey guys, hope you're well. Hey Jack, thanks for taking questions. I just have a general question on, I guess, narrative and just the way you see the whole ecosystem. And one thing that a lot of people do is they latch onto your words and they make interpretations. And I realize that's not fair because it's hard to really capture what somebody's thinking deeply in a tweet or when they mention something in passing. So my question is, I always saw Zen and I was really, inspired by your earlier rhetoric around, I shouldn't call it rhetoric, but your earlier, language around later on, I've really seen you pivot towards X1, and you had made a tweet where, you said Zen is just test nets that are basically lead to X1, right? So, and I kind of saw that as a problem in a narrative shift because I think Zen is actually the foundational part of this whole ecosystem. It's got that agnostic aspect to it where we can go into other communities, create demand for block space, connect that to other blockchains, which is the network effect that can create the value across communities. But if it's a destination to X1, that kind of changes that narrative. So I want to get your perspective. What do you think is the foundational part of this ecosystem? Is it X1? Is it Zen? And so if you could just speak, more thoroughly on that. And then do you see X1 maybe taking some of the steam out of the innovation on the other chains? If people see it as a destination, will the builders want to just go to X1 or will they continue to innovate throughout the whole community? That's my question.
Okay, good question. Yeah, so I think the builders will build where the money is, where the biggest liquidity is. So I actually feel like Bitcoin is one of those chains that a lot of people are building on today. And I really want to bring ethos of Zen to Bitcoin so that Bitcoiners can participate in the Zen ecosystem and give Zen even more value. So I think that's really, really important. And when it comes to my tweet, I think that tweet was very, very loosely worded. And now, in retrospect, I think I should have been more clear and more careful with my tweets. Certainly, none of the chains are really truly a testnet that has no value, because a lot of people associate testnet without having any monetary benefit, which is not true. Like, for example, you could argue that Polygon is like this bastard child of Ethereum, and nobody really should be on Polygon. However, in the last Zen pump, Zen went up 12x on Ethereum and went 50x on Polygon. So definitely, a lot of people are very, very thankful to Polygon for allowing for participation to happen, because you don't have to spend a lot of money there, and you can definitely get a ginormous pump like what they have had. Also, there's like other chains like EVMOS that pumped really, really, really hard, and also Phantom too. So definitely, those other chains are not test nets in a sense when if you take into account the monetary perspective. And the only reason that I said that everything is a test net is just because this ecosystem the whole crypto ecosystem is just a giant sandbox where people are playing with and creating things and have different ideas that they're exploring. So that's what I really meant to say. I didn't mean that everything is a shit chain or a testnet and only X1 is the real thing. That's not really what I meant. I meant that the multitude of chains that people are participating in, allowing us to learn how to develop the ecosystem better. So that's what I meant by a testnet. I didn't mean that it's worthless, and I certainly don't mean that all of the value will be sucked into X1. We're just builders. We're trying to create amazing interconnected world and give them more value on every chain. Because if you think about it, if you have a way to get into X1 and to create a lot of value there, that actually means that the value also has to be created on all of the chains too. So we kind of see that if we build something interesting, that actually will end up pumping all the chains, including Bitcoin. That's why I'm like so bullish on Bitcoin. I think everybody should have a little bit of Bitcoin. That's not a financial advice, obviously, but I think with the new narratives that Bitcoin is experiencing, it's like it's having this renaissance, so to speak. It's kind of like an Ethereum moment where basically Ethereum came to be one of the mostly used chains in terms of programmable money, is because people had full freedom to experiment and to come up with really amazing things. And a lot of those things obviously did not fly, but those things that did fly actually changed the world. And so I think Bitcoin is currently having the same moment as Ethereum 5 years ago. So yeah, I think every chain is important. Every chain is going to pump very, very hard in the next bull market cycle. And I think Zen on every chain is very, very important too. So Ethereum is the biggest thing out there in terms of valuation, but I think it is quite possible that people will come up with different applications on different chains that actually will create a lot of value there too. So let's not discount any chains, and let's not think of the word testnet as having no value. It's just part of the creative process, basically, is where people are like experimenting and building, testing, like so to speak. Like for example, let's say that you want to get into Zen and you don't want to spend a lot of money. You will go to Polygon, you'll go to Phantom or a Binance chain, and you can spend fractional amount of dollars spent on crypto just so that you can understand exactly what you're getting into. And that's very, very positive. So definitely there's value there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for letting me ask the question.
We got Zen, Degen, Sean, Shahan, and then Simple and Oracle.
Hey guys, appreciate the space. Really, really good conversation today. Jack, I've been just kind of watching and listening to a lot of the conversation over the course of the last week, really since the release of the X1 light paper, and was listening to the conversation and kind of reading a lot of the commentary in the conversation that just happened with Trevon. I feel like there's kind of two issues that the community has. One is how big a portion the VMPX allocation is, and I think there's also a kind of fear and concern that you're not focused on Zen. And as I was listening to the Trevon conversation, I have kind of a half-baked idea, but I wonder, and I understand that the idea with the VMPX mint on Ethereum is really meant to mirror what happened on the BRC-20 side. I think the challenge was, I mean, I couldn't participate in the BRC side because I was just busy that day. The same will be true on the 4th, and we didn't really understand how important that was going to be at the time, right? And now I think we do have a sense of how important VMPX is. I wonder, this isn't a fully baked idea, but what if we were to change the approach, and rather than doing an 8-hour, one-day mint, we went back to the moon party ideas, spread this out over maybe a year, and then used Zen, ideally across chains, to do sort of a full moon auction style approach to get people those VMPX allocations, right? To bring more direct visibility to Zen, right? Because I think that's the ultimate idea, right? We want to continue to grow the community and grow visibility. I don't think there's a direct correlation with, this one holiday day, gas is going to spike, and maybe people will go and look at what this VMPX thing is, but I don't think they're going to make the connection to Zen. So I wonder if there's some openness to changing the approach a little bit in a way that I think is more inclusive, is more fair, supports the entire community, supports Zen, the growth across all chains, that type of a thing.
So very good question, and it certainly does sound good the way that you present it. And there's however several challenges. Number one is that we wanted VMPX to be as closely linked to Bitcoin VMPX as possible, so that the both tokens end up actually gaining a lot of value. And so having different release schedules in contrast to Bitcoin on Ethereum and other chains would actually make it a little bit different, and it would not truly represent this idea that we had about linking those tokens together on a cross chain bridge. So that's like one issue. That's why we wanted to be as close as possible to Bitcoin. We really wanted it to be the creation of VMPX would have been basically the native token or coin, like specifically Ethereum, because on Bitcoin, people use their Satoshis and their Bitcoin to participate. So that's one thing. And the other thing is about the allocation. So a lot of people feel that 33% or whatever, 1 to 3 optional conversion is too big. Now, I will say this, that should VMPX gain in value on Bitcoin and on Ethereum, it is possible that a lot of people will choose not to convert to XN, still have an optional conversion, but not necessarily to convert from day one, just because it will have a giant utility as a bridge token that actually will generate yield between the two largest ecosystems ever created in crypto, which is Bitcoin and the Ethereum world. And when I say Ethereum world, I'm talking about all EVMs out there, all chains. So that's a really, really, really important function, and I think a lot of people will choose not to convert, therefore keeping this 33% kind of locked for a relatively long time. The other thing that we haven't really talked about, like people think, okay, so they can mint their VMPX and immediately convert to X1 if they want to. That is actually not the case, because X1 is coming up next year, 2024. It is only on that chain that you will be able to convert. We also didn't really talk about whether there are going to be any restrictions, which I didn't want to talk about just yet because we're still hashing it out, and we wanted to have a proposal for the community. Like specifically, like what if the VMPX to XN conversion happen over time and in limited quantities and spread over the years. So that's actually is important also to talk about. Like it wouldn't be an immediate thing. Like if VMPX having 108 million tokens is out there and people are holding it, what's stopping them from coming into X1 and on day one convert everything? I don't think that we will actually allow that. We will likely have a daily kind of allocation over a course of maybe a year, maybe 2, maybe 3, to get that done. So it is optional, and there will be some restrictions in terms of how quickly you do it. And it's actually good for XN not to be dumped, or not, when I say dumped, I mean created like all of a sudden, because we don't want it to flood the markets. We want it to be released in a timely manner. And so that, I think, in my mind, works really well, where you have those 3 buckets. You have the Zen burn, which is burn of Zen through any project participation, whether it's Zen Doge or DBZen or Phoenix or pretty much anything that burns Zen. So that's bucket number 1. That's gonna take years to do. So that's 1/3. The other third is obviously the 333 auctions. That is how we want to launch XN on Ethereum, so that we can have a market for XN. So, like for example, on day 2, once you get your XN minted, you can actually start trading it and create the market on Uniswap on Ethereum, which is actually very, very useful. And obviously VMPX links to the Ethereum gas coin, the native coin. That's important because if you think about it this way, like for example, it happened on Bitcoin and people use their Bitcoin to create it. It sets the floor directly linked to the use of the native currencies, like Bitcoin on Bitcoin or Satoshis on Bitcoin, and Ethereum, ETH, Ether on Ethereum too. So it actually links the largest world's cryptocurrencies into the creation of VMPX that will set the appropriate floor for the value of VMPX, which is also then linked to the creation of XN, which is also setting the floor for that. So ultimately, we wanted the largest cryptocurrencies power this release and give more value to XN and to VMPX. And obviously, Zen is also connected to it because the 333 auctions, as they create XN, and if XN has a large addressable market, then it actually makes Zen on every chain more valuable because you're going to have to gather it somehow, whether it's a mint or a purchase on Uniswap. So all of those elements are linked together and ultimately linked to the creation by using the native gas tokens everywhere, which is was always the idea, is that we don't want to like basically just create a token, press a button, mint a giant allocation and dump it on the market and have the market figure out the value. We really wanted it to be connected to this creation activity by using the gas tokens.
I like those answers, and I really like the longer term approach. I think in general with all this stuff, because from my perspective, it gives us more time to continue to onboard people into the community, get them involved in a way where they don't feel like they're at a disadvantage. Similarly, when we think about the 333 auctions, and I've heard you speak about this a little bit, that having a little bit of a finite time can be useful, but why not have a time period that's a little bit longer than, say, the max mint period, so that people have an opportunity, once all the details are released and in writing and finalized, that they could know that, hey, I can do a max term mint, and then I'm going to be able to use that Zen to participate in these auctions. So why not like a 666 that starts on Halloween, for example, instead of the 333?
So I like 666. It's just it's a good number with our vampire narrative, so that's good. The problem that I see with that is that the shorter the period is, the less Zen is available to burn, which will force the active participants to require to buy it on the market, which actually will drive the value higher for the future mints. So like if your mint is in 400 days, but the 333 period caused Zen to pump just because there's less and less of it and people don't have it, so they have to buy it, that actually moves the floor for the Zen value higher, rather than having this flood of Zen that's all getting burned and just converted from one token to the other. Someone mentioned this term that I really like called closed loop Ponzi. I don't agree with that term, but I think the value isn't created by swapping one token to the next. It's created by having the scarcity that's connected to the desire to get something. And when you have a scarce asset, like Zen, for example, then it will actually cause it to pump, which is what we want. And I'm not going to say that vacuum. What I really mean to say is that we want the value for Zen to continuously to appreciate, and one of the benefits for having 333 and not 666 is this kind of like the situation where if you don't have it in your wallet, then and if you want to participate, and that's actually not just you but pretty much anybody, they'll have to get Zen on the open market and therefore raise its market cap, which is ultimately what we want to see. We want to see value, not just like a one-day pump or just a burn for like no reason. We really wanted it to be there needs to be a reason to buy it, and that is one of those reasons is like a little relatively shorter 333 auction rather than 666.
Appreciate the answers. I'll yield the floor.
Yeah, we got more hands, and I've been keeping order. So we got Shan, Simple, Oracle.
Cool, thank you. And it's just Shahan, Armenian name, tough to pronounce, so just so you know. Jack, what's going on?
Hey.
So question from my perspective is, the thing that got me really excited, I come from the Web 2 world, did enterprise software sales for a long time. You're coming from Google. I think in the next market cycle, I strongly believe that we're going to get a ton more adoption from that Web 2 world, which is going to pivot over to Web 3 and crypto. You have imageshack.com. So one of the things that I was really interested in is, like, as you said, why do we create a new layer 1 X1? We want adoption. We want different people getting involved, the fair crypto, connecting into the Bitcoin ecosystem. Do you have plans to connect into the Web 2 world? Like, for example, for you specifically, a bridge between, let's say, or integration between ImageShack and X1 or any of the other kind of Web 2 platforms that you work with?
Yes, a very good question. Yeah, absolutely. I would say so. ImageShack right now is number 180 in the world. There's about 2 billion websites out there, and we are literally in the 0.01% percentile. Commerce solutions for websites like ImageShack. So ImageShack is pay for web hosting service. There's 30 million people that are currently using ImageShack to host their images. They're paying using PayPal, and I would really love for people to pay for ImageShack services with Zen, specifically using this sort of.
Let's go.
Yeah. So with the technology.
Jack,
yeah, go ahead.
Do you remember last year? That was when you first presented it to me. That was one of the first things I asked you. When will it get on ImageShack?
Yeah.
God damn it! You guys are making this shit pump. We're supposed to dump, not pump.
I remember that conversation. So there's 30 million users on ImageShack, and they've been using ImageShack for years. And now with this new technology, with the ability to spend crypto using the Libre wallet, we can actually integrate the ImageShack account payments with that system, and we can be one of the first websites that are using crypto e-commerce and do it in a very, very seamless manner. And obviously, that's another community that they're not in crypto yet. But with ImageShack, I think ImageShack has like 2 billion web hits daily. 2 billion, that's a lot. So we can progressively move forward with integrating this Web 2 solution with crypto, with Web 3, by using the Libre technology that allows for instant payments from the end users using their crypto to get services on ImageShack.com.
All right, we got Simple, Oracle, ZenStaker.
Cool. Hey Jack. I've just been tapping into more like Wayne Gretzky videos, and I think honestly it's because
I can't hear anybody. Can anybody hear anything?
Oh, oops, not. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Simple's speaking to you. Yeah,
I can drop.
I'm not gonna drop Jack, so get out of here, Simple. We'll bring you back up.
Yeah,
we're gonna go to the next person, and then Simple will
cycle. Yeah, have him recycle and come back so that I can actually hear him. Yeah. Unfortunately, Twitter rugs sometimes.
Can you hear me, Jack?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go to the next person, which is Oracle, and then we'll get Simple after Oracle.
Okay. I think we need to say hello to Zen Sue. Zen Sue's popped up. Just a quick hello.
Hello, guys. Happy to be here. You're doing amazing.
Zensu, which color pit vipers are you wearing today? I'm just curious.
Which color what?
Pit vipers. What color pit vipers do you got on today?
No, nothing. No filters on my eyes today. Full focus.
Hi, Oracle.
Hey, Cleo. Hello,
How you
everyone. I'm well, thank you. Hopefully, I'm not rugging as well.
I
So
can
happy
hear
to
you.
be here. Yeah. I'm just.
Jack, I made when I was flying the other day, I made Oracle a little video. So me and Oracle have got this little thing going. If I see her in a space, I'll pop up, "Hi, Oracle." So the other day when I was flying, after I nearly got hit by a plane, I made her a little video. "Hi, Oracle," as I was flying.
Yeah, Cleo and I have. We both love bees, so we're very into the hive mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I keep bees.
Yes. Cleo's a beekeeper, but anyway. Yeah. Speaking of the hive mind, this is really one of the reasons that I love Zen. I was drawn to Zen. Zen is built and rooted on first principles. These principles are converted into 400 lines of code, which is so minimalist and so beautiful. The code can't be modified. It's audited. It's open source. It's trustless. And lowest barrier of entry, obviously. The growth has been organic. Proof of participation, which is incredible, bringing the community together. And no founder allocation, no VCs, no admin keys. It's the fairest token ever distributed. Out of like 22,000 tokens, it's the first of a kind. And anyway, I think it's a really, really beautiful, beautiful concept. I love the fact that it's the amplification of Satoshi's first principles. And I think that there's a tremendous utility, particularly because we're facing some pretty intense centralized systems, right? So the ultimate underlining technology of Zen is really powerful. I think the fact that you guys deployed it on 11 chains, 12 chains if you consider consider your own chain, like that's incredible. I mean, that's a beautiful thing that you were able to make something that was so simple and seamless, and that it works so well. And I remember the first time I saw the roadmap and it led to X1, I posted it in the little nest down there in the comments, that it was like this amazing thing because it had all of Zen, and then it had the circle around X1, and then it led to Bitcoin. And I was like so excited for this, for that potential that, you could take all of this economic energy and you could bring it ultimately back to Bitcoin. And I thought that was fantastic. And so, I'm feeling like, my questions are now, so the thing with XN, and you're saying that it's going to be an ERC-20 token. And so I'm curious, then you're saying that this is in the X1, a light paper, that can be exchanged 1-to-1 for the X1 blockchain native coin. So I'm curious about what that is, because I thought XN was going to be the native coin. So I'm curious, like, do you know what the native coin is going to be for the X1 blockchain? Do we have a name for that yet? And so, yeah, and then you have VMPX, which is also just like an ERC-20. And then you're saying that the utility of X1 is just going to be kind of like swapping between ERC-20s to BRC-20s and ordinals. And I can see like, yeah, that does exist, but of course it could be like, it could be smoothed out, right? It could be done better. However, I'm curious, like, it seems to me like, why would you leave Zen out of this? I don't understand, like, why it wouldn't Zen, and utilizing what you've created with all of these chains, this like really powerful technology, like why wouldn't you take that utility and bring that to X1? and why would you kind of only focus on like Ethereum and Bitcoin? I mean, I get it, but like you've done all this other work, and I realized it was like an experiment of sorts, but I feel like you've like developed this incredible technology, and then it's sort of like, well, now I don't understand where it's going. So I'd love to get some clarification on that. And yeah, I'd love to hear like, what is the X1 blockchain native coin going to be, and then what does that mean that the XEN, because it's a ERC-20, like, so that's not the native coin for X1. And then yeah, I'd love to get some clarification about that. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, so thank you for your question. The XN ERC-20 is going to be released on Ethereum, and that's where it's going to be traded. However, once X1 is up, you will be able to bridge XN into the native XN on X1. So it's going to be called the same, and you will have a full one-to-one conversion happen on that chain. So basically, you will either lock or burn your XN on Ethereum, and we haven't decided which one it's going to be yet. And then you will be issued XN, which is called the same, but it's going to live on X1 as a coin, as a native coin, gas coin, on the X1 chain. So, and if you, for example, create and mint your XN on another chain, like for example Binance, so we know that Binance gas is about 20 times cheaper than Ethereum. So the conversion from the Binance XN into X1 is going to be at the ratio of the difference of the gas between Ethereum and Binance, and so is other chains too. Like for example, Polygon, I think it's about 100 times cheaper. So it's going to be 100 XN on Polygon that will convert into 1 XN on X1, because we're linking it to the Ethereum's gas cost, because it's the highest cost, and it's just fair to make it that way. So that's how the ratios are going to be computed. So the second question was about VMPX and how it relates to Zen. And so ultimately, the goal for VMPX is to bridge Bitcoin. And I feel like Bitcoin's ordinals and BRC-20 market is this emerging market. Technically, it launched on March 5th. And then 2 months later, like literally in May, it hit $1 billion in valuation, and it's completely organic. Like it's not fake market cap. It was like really real. It definitely happened. So it was one of the biggest rising markets that I have seen in the history of crypto, which actually kind of makes sense. That market has been dying for DeFi applications, and finally DeFi applications are here in a way that you can launch tokens on Bitcoin and actually trade them and do all kinds of things with ordinals and create collections. So that market is going to continue to evolve, and it is my belief it's going to go from $1 billion to $10 billion to $50 billion within relatively short time. When I say short time, I would say like 12 to 18 months. And we definitely need to be in that market. 100% we have to be. And if you think about it, if XN, or rather X1 chain, is the bridge between those worlds, we're now tapping into the fastest growing ecosystem with the largest liquidity. And when I say largest liquidity, I just mean that $500 billion in Bitcoin just dying to be plugged in into DeFi. And if we can produce this sort of DeFi application on X1 and use the creation of X1 to be derived from Zen ecosystem, and specifically Zen token, that actually will give a lot of value to Zen, obviously, on every chain, and to the system that's being built to create this sort of ability to swap. So like I know for a fact that there's a lot of Ethereum users or users from the Ethereum world, from any chain actually, are flooding into the BRC-20 ecosystem, and they have no way to convert their Ethereum trustlessly in a good way. I mean, there's some solutions like Thor THOR ecosystem, but the slippage there is just giant. It's like 5 to 10%. So it's really not a good way to convert Ethereum to Bitcoin. And like the other way to do it is to go to a centralized exchange, which is also not a good way because you just end up giving up your keys and your coins and your self custody. So we really wanted it to be uh, developed in a trustless way where the validators are those basically entities that run the chain and do the bridge and have yield to be received by that bridge as the people swap back and forth. Like specifically, there's again, I want to stress this, that Ethereum traders really want to get into Bitcoin, and they're doing it now because that's how the whole system is currently, that I've been observed, is working. And so we want to be in the middle there. And I think this middle is really Zen, because Zen is on every chain. It's acting like a token that's bringing everybody together. So there's this huge opportunity there. And obviously we couldn't like for 6 months I've been thinking how to launch Zen on Bitcoin, and I couldn't come up with a way because there's no smart contracts on Bitcoin at all. And I felt that we have to be there from like literally day one, and we are there with VMPX on day one. And it had to be called something else and not Zen, just because the tokenomics are different. But at the same time, if VMPX works out and it does increase the participation of our ecosystem fivefold, I mean, that's what I'm aiming for. I aim my goal is to grow our community rapidly, just participating in this emerging market. If that happens, and if all those people become aware of Zen, that actually will cause Zen value to rise again, and it will be like a perpetual fire. But for that really to work and work well, we have to do those type of, I would say, controversial steps, because this is the only way that we can grow. We have to experiment and do all kinds of crazy things and get people's attention. And we've certainly seen it working. And let me give you an example. So like I was at Ethereum Denver with Zensu, and nobody knew who we were. Like only like 1 or 2 guys recognized us. But then we went to Bitcoin Con in Miami, and absolutely everyone knew who we were. And we were like almost like, I would say, very well recognizable. And people are like, oh, this is Zen guys. They have VMPX on Bitcoin. Look at that. They caused Bitcoin to jump in fees so much that Bitcoin now has this new life that nobody thought it would have in terms of creating fees for miners. So in terms of the marketing possibility for Zen, we didn't have to do much work. Like everyone knew who we were. And Ivan on Tech spoke about Zen specifically, but it only really got into his mind after VMPX launch. Then Ran Neuner from Crypto Banter also invited us for a conversation where we talked about BRC-20s, where we explained what Zen is. So that opened so many doors for us. It opened so many doors for new members to join the community from the Bitcoin world, but also Ethereum world too, because I see the future world for crypto is this connected world where it's not just chains are separated by like this walled garden, but rather the ecosystem evolving and morphing into um, this sort of proposition that pretty much all the chains are connected really, really well. But the technology have to be created, and you have to have enough people excited to actually to start building things. And that's why VMPX launched the way it had on Bitcoin. It needed to generate enough noise and to be like to blow out the door, basically, like be this dramatic deployment that actually cause a lot of people to think twice about what the hell we're doing. And that definitely happened. And actually, like just before the launch, Zensu and I were talking about like, okay, well, should we make it a year distribution, like 1 year? And then I think my position there was that if we were to make it 1 year distribution for VMPX on Bitcoin, then what would happen is that all the other tokens that are out there that have those rapid mints, people will be paying attention to those and not to us, just because it takes such a long time to mint the whole supply out. So the scarcity will not be there, and we will not have that much of an impact that we would have otherwise. And that actually like surprisingly worked out really well. For about 8 hours, Bitcoin was, I would say, struggling a little bit, but struggling enough for Binance CEO to declare that they're going to be adopting Lightning on their exchanges, because people could not even withdraw Bitcoin from their ecosystem, which literally caused people to rethink the whole approach to crypto and Bitcoin. And we were the cause of that. And I'm very proud of that fact, that we were the ones that actually changing the course of the way that Bitcoin is viewed. So Bitcoin always used to be for hodlers, and you couldn't do much with it. It was really kind of stepped away from this vision of that Satoshi has presented in his first paragraph of the Bitcoin Light paper, where he said that Bitcoin is really a peer-to-peer cash. So now, finally, Bitcoin has a chance to do that, what it's supposed to do, and we're there actually opening the door for that possibility. And ultimately, this all leads to Zen. So that's why I'm so excited about this.
Can I mention a few words on that too? Thanks, Oracle, for your thoughts there. We are very proud of Zen and of solutions built on top of Zen, of this amazing community who's here every day, who's building, builders building. It works. Zen works. Now, what we want to do is get Zen adopted. We want this to scale. We want to bring in 1 million new users to this ecosystem and beyond. So Zen needs to scale, and things doesn't scale by themselves. Look at Bitcoin. We're 14 years in, and it's still not worldwide adopted. Far from it. We haven't spent $1 on marketing at all with Zen, which is amazing. That we've managed to grow so big, not based on promoting something or convincing something. All our growth is based on building and having incentives for people to participate. So we need to build in solutions into X1 that will make it possible for it to grow organically. So our strength is that we can build innovative solutions no one ever did before, and we can move fast. So having, like an example, having Zen on all chains and with burn records, that's giving incentives for every burner on all chains for a very long time to participate in the protocol. That's just brilliant, because it gives every users on every VM an incentive, not having to convert them to X1 based on that we're faster, better, stronger, which we will anyway. But we build incentives in, and in doing so, we change user behavior. Now, building a bridge solution for the merge of Bitcoin and the EVM world, it's another way to build in incentives for users to onboard to the world of Zen without even knowing that they did. So we can use we can have a trustless bridge between the ecosystem that's not based on a fiat-backed stablecoin. And all roads lead into X1, and therefore Zen, because Zen is the fuel to get into X1. So everything is, we want adoption of Zen. Zen is the building block, and we're using that building block to get adoption for what we're trying to build. So all of this that we're doing will give Zen a lot of utility, and adoption is where it's the problem that we are trying to solve.
Yeah, thank you, Zensu. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Simple, I know you're gonna go. I just wanted to add like one simple point. I think that exactly what you're saying is that's exactly what I'm feeling, from an outside perspective. The fact that you guys, that the marketing does come completely from the community, but the excitement, right, really comes from you guys. And so I think that it's important to articulate a very clear story, and kind of just, in general, like if you have a roadmap out, that's like really excellent, right? And of course you can like add things and make it more dynamic, but kind of like keeping that narrative cohesive, so that, because it's like, the way that we get together is either through spaces or tweets or Telegram or whatever, then the information, if it's coming from a tweet and then it seems to be like detracting from Zen or whatever, it's a little like confusing. And then I can see clearly by reading, the X1 light paper that yes, of course, like Zen is a part of that. However, I do think that the original roadmap is really extraordinary, and potentially you could even, I don't know, just continue to like really stay on that narrative with Zen incorporated into X1 with all of the chains, and yes, of course, bridging Bitcoin and Ethereum together is like, that's really exciting. But I do think that it would be nice to just sort of like have some like a cohesive narrative, a continuous cohesive narrative, so that we all know exactly what's happening and there isn't any confusion. And then as far as what we're doing, then we can get excited and promote in that way. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but thank you guys.
Yeah. Simple, go ahead. And then we've got, how much more time do you have, Jack? Sensu, you guys got a little bit longer?
Yeah, I have like 20 minutes.
Okay. So let's knock out a couple hands and then go ahead,
I'm gonna remove
Wayne Gretzky.
Hang on.
Doing a sound test.
Hang on.
The only man that had sex with Wayne Gretzky.
I'm gonna remove.
Ask some tough questions, guys.
Yeah, no, I did have a question here though, and I just doing a sound test there for Wayne Gretzky. I honestly, it's pretty amazing. I'm super pumped about these BRC-20s and these ordinals, and I think that the community has had like an adequate amount of time to kind of understand what's going on. You guys deployed obviously the Zen Knights with the Zen Burn, which was huge, and those are like crazy early inscriptions. So anyone that has those, like, those are definitely some rare artifacts. But then also the X Uni, and then Pussy, VMPX, Buffy, and a few others, right? I did have a question to Jack or Zenzu or anyone up here. We got a lot of smart people up here. So the BRC-20s, as it's like pretty new, and as you kind of alluded to, Jack, there's a bunch of new offerings and creations that are going to be happening. What's going on with like this ORC-20, and is that going to be something that's going to be pushed out more? Because I'm just kind of I was just looking through a couple things, and I know Binance Academy kind of had something about it. Do you see ORC-20 being kind of a band-aid for BRC-20s, or do you see any relevancy in them? And what do they mean to you?
So few things on ORC or ORC-20. So that's the enhanced protocol to BRC. So I think it can give rise to rag pull technology, so to speak, because the way that it's being written in is that it has admin keys, that it is so simple. There's only 3 variables. There's the token name, there's the total supply, and how much you can mint per transaction. And I think it's really doing a good job what it is. I think ORC can be a cool thing, but I think because the indexers, and an indexer is just a piece of software that needs to index the Bitcoin chain in terms of where everything is and interpret the protocol's definitions, it definitely can give rise to more scams, just because the contract is no longer immutable. It can be made immutable, but it's really opening up the door for ability to manipulate all of those variables. That's what giving me pause in my excitement towards it. So, but that's like what I know from reading about it last week.
Cool. Yeah, and so just so I'm clear on understanding, so the Libre wallet, at least what is going to be built out is there's going to be like they're going to be housing the BRC-20s.
Yes and no. I would say what Libre will do, and we're we're just in the very, very early conversations with them right now. It allows for the BRC-20 to be deposited into Libre blockchain, but as we all know, it's never really a full transmission. It's more like you take your BRC-20 on Bitcoin and you lock it into either a time lock, or you put it into a special wallet that's controlled by the Libre validators. And then the Libre blockchain mints the equivalent, or I would say wrapped BRC on their chain, and then you can swap it for Ethereum right there, or you can swap it for Satoshis. And then if you want to go back, you just show a proof of ownership, which you would have because their chain is also have validators with all of the similar technologies for private keys and public addresses. There you will be able to go back to Bitcoin by burning your BRC-20 on the Libre side, and then unlocking deposited BRC-20 that is deposited into the special wallet that has the allocation there. Not allocation, but the, I would say it's more like a liquidity pool. So that's how that would work. But the idea is for Libre is to allow for gasless swaps on their chain, and specifically what's really exciting is that you can bring your Ethereum or USDT or whatever the token of choice. You can even bring Shiba into Libre and then swap your Shiba for VMPX or for any other BRC token du jour that you're interested in participating, and then bridge back to Bitcoin, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, and then, last question. I know we got a bunch of hands here, but just on the tech, because there was a little bit of FUD from some older developers, and I'm not a developer, so I'm just a regular dude that likes the protocol. But just as far as the BRC 20s and like the Libre wallet, what they offer, it is a little bit more of like an older tech, and there was like a bug or something with that type of structure. From what I've heard, is that correct?
Yes and no. So Libre currently is running on the fork of EOS, which is the Antelope technology. That's what it's called today. That technology has been proven has no bugs that I have seen, and that's what their chain is operating on. Currently, for the purposes of demonstrating their abilities, they're using peg in and peg out bridge, which is driven by P network, and P network is another chain that does Bitcoin to Ethereum and Ethereum to Bitcoin swaps, but they have very, very limited functionality. So they're using P network that actually had a hack in 2021. Someone was mimicking peg outs on their chain by using another smart contract, and the bug allowed the hacker to withdraw a bunch of funds that were locked in P network, and basically stole the funds from the liquidity pools on Ethereum. In the future, the way that the Libre is going to, or at least that's what they told me, they plan to potentially create more bridges that will work better than P network. So P network is just for demonstration purposes only. At the same time, we're going to be working on our own bridge as well. Like, for example, we had this idea just recently where we want to demo an OTC swap for BRC-20 to ERC-20. And let me give you an example. Like, let's say that you have some Ethereum on the Ethereum side, ERC-20 basically, wrapped Ethereum or whatnot, and you want to swap it for VMPX BRC-20 on the Bitcoin side. So you and I will exchange our public addresses. So you'll give me your Ethereum address, I'll give you my Bitcoin address, Taproot wallet ID, and then we will deposit our corresponding funds. So I will deposit my BRC-20 VMPX. You can deposit your ERC-20 VMPX into a smart contract, and then we go to the web interface and we swap it seamlessly through the blockchain. So in other words, think of blockchain as an escrow, and we're both depositing, knowing the destination will be your address, and for you the destination will be my Bitcoin address. The sort of like escrow, which is the blockchain, will then execute those transactions. So that's the OTC swap that we're planning to demo maybe within a month, because we know how to do it. We just need to put it to code, and that doesn't even touch Libre at all. It's just going to be a demonstration how VMPX can go from one chain to the other, specifically from Bitcoin to Ethereum and back.
Awesome. That's epic.
Wayne Gretzky.
Cleo, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I've got one question, and it is it's probably, I don't know. I mean, it's fuck it. I'm just going to ask it. So there's been some FUD in the community. Did you guys buy 200K's worth of VMPX?
I'm sorry. Did we what?
Buy $200,000 worth of VMPX. That's some shit that's been going around in the community.
I don't have that much money that's liquid in crypto.
Because I think that there was some stuff about the E.O.P deployer wallet buying like a shitload of VMPX before the community knew about its real utility.
So I did deploy eOrb, but the eOrb account did not have $200,000 at all. So I don't know where those numbers are coming from. eOrb I did deploy to help the ordinal numbers to cross 10 million. I just wanted it to push it a little harder. That's all. I did mint VMPX together with the community when VMPX launched in Bitcoin. So I was a minter. I also did buy a little bit here and there, but it wasn't anything like super significant. It wasn't $200,000. That's for sure the case. So, but
sorry for asking.
Yeah. I mean that's fine. I mean, like there's all kinds of drama happens in crypto all the time, and I totally understand why that happens. The question that we always FUD. What does it matter to a person who spreads FUD? Like a lot of times, the sole function of a FUD, there's actually two things. One is either to FUD the price so it drops so that they can buy a bunch, or they're somehow trying to take attention away into something that they're doing themselves. Like let's say that they have a token A and there's a token B out there that's like stealing the thunder or whatever from them. So they engage in FUD to pump their bag or reduce the eyes watching something else happening. So everything else, I mean, that you see, I mean, like I don't really see like any other reasons why FUD would exist. Like this is a very, very common practice. You FUD something, it drops in value, you laugh at the idiots that sold, and you buy a big bag for yourself. That's like the number one objective.
The thing is, when you phoned me the other day, we had a really good conversation. And actually, one of the questions that I asked Jack, just for transparency, was, do you rock Cleo? Like, do you like Cleo and the way he rolls? And to the community, Jack said yes. And the reason I think he said yes is because drama, whether it's good or bad, is actually good for awareness. Would you agree, Jack?
I think all expression of emotion is energy, and if this energy is used for good, then it's good to have it. Whether it's FUD or whether it's ecstasy, those are just opposite emotions. And I always say that the opposite of love is not hate. It's indifference, and we definitely don't have indifference in our ecosystem. A lot of people are very, very excited, and I think that's what gives us a lot of energy to persevere.
Wayne Gretzky.
All right. So let's. Okay, Jack, how much more time you got for us? Have we hit him?
I have 5 minutes.
Okay. So who's got just a bomb question? You know.
I have a question that's fucking quick as fuck.
Go ahead, Ted.
Will there be a token for X1?
Sorry, Jack. Were you trying to say something?
Will there be a token for X1?
Yeah, like how Ethereum has tokens, BNB has tokens. Like, can we make token contracts with it?
On X1, you can make as many contracts as you want, or any tokens as you want.
Fuck
XN,
yeah.
if gas coin.
I'm gonna make Ricky Bobby coin because it's the fastest on the planet, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, do
Okay,
it.
I have a fast question.
Okay.
So about the allocation of XN, because just keeping the words, because we are trying to be fair, because we are in the fair crypto, so we are, some of us behaving like we are a police of fairness. So the one aspect of being fair is like keeping the word. So once you said that the stakers of stakes NFTs with high rarity score will get a fat airdrop. So I mean allocation of XN. And I know from Zensu that it's on the table, but I would like to know if this is a discussion not about if but how. So if could you confirm? Because just a reminder that it's also burning, so it's similar to Apex.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we did a poll with the community yesterday whether NFTs should be included in XN allocation. And when the poll started, for the first few hours, 80% of people were saying yes, and 20% of people were saying no. So it was going very much towards yes. And then within 5 minutes, there was like 2,000 or 3,000 votes that came in and had no. So clearly there was a bot, and those voting no have to be like at least this 3,000 votes have to be disqualified. So it's, I think, just looking at the comments and looking at the community reaction is definitely a yes. So XeNFTs, both Zenturians, Apex, Limited, also collectors NFTs, they all going to be included for the XN allocation, as
And
well as the
stake?
staking NFTs with rarities too. So we always wanted to do it, and we're definitely going to include it in the allocation. It's just a question of how, not if. So I would say that the poll told me yes, people do want it, and like not a single person that I actually spoke with spoke against it. So I just don't even see like how that like who has the some sort of an agenda to manipulate the poll to say no. But definitely looking at the bot activity, you could see that the bots voted no for one reason or the other. So yeah, I mean, like we're totally going to include the NFTs, and we're very excited about that. I think it's fair. I think it's also fair from the perspective that we talked about it for a while, and so definitely we'll be part of it, and we will be coming up with the methods and the ways for the community review in a very, very short time. I'm thinking about 1 or 2 weeks at most. And also the other thing that we have discussed, we definitely want to have 333 buckets to be on every chain, not just Ethereum. From the light paper, it doesn't look like it's on every chain, but it will be on every chain. So we're going to be adjusting it to be more clear that it's going to every chain possible with the conversion. And secondly, NFTs will also be burnable with the moon parties or equivalent of the moon party, as we talked about before, on every chain with the convertible allocation to XN as well.
Hey, I got a quick question. So Jack, have you ever thought about, when the blockchain launches and VMPX is here, and let's say it gains adoption and everything like that. Have you ever thought about that that blockchain and that BRC-20 is going to have a higher market cap than Zen because there's a lot more going on as far as a blockchain. There's a lot more liquidity, and if there's a lot more liquidity in VMPX and XN or the blockchain, there's going to be it's automatically going to have a higher market cap than Zen. Have you ever gave that thought or thought about that?
I did think about it, and ultimately, because all of the tokens link together, I think whatever pushes higher will actually bring activity to the other tokens too. And also, like, Zen is made to be, to be burned up and to be disinflationary over. So inflationary over the short-term period, and disinflationary and finally deflationary over the long term, where VMPX
Ja s tím mým penále, to bylo nejvážnější.
Where VMPX has a set allocation that doesn't have a burn function. So I think it could be that VMPX get higher market cap. I mean, like right now, VMPX is at $20 million market cap, whereas Zen is at 17. So it's happening now, but I think it will even out over the time as the X1 blockchain comes up and the technology is demonstrated. And ultimately, I think there's many other ways to link VMPX to XN and to Zen that we haven't even talked about yet, but we're thinking about ways to get that done. So ultimately, our overarching goal is to bring more people to the community, to give Zen more function, to bring Zen valuation higher, and to make it fair in the process. So those are like our three mandates, and we are planning to stick to those. And obviously, we want communities to be engaged and get a lot of feedback from the community. Like there's this one thing that's like really controversial. Why did we relaunched Zen on Pulse Chain? Like why did it happen when we talked about not doing it? The reason why that happened is because a lot of Pulsicans actually reached out and asked us to do it, and then they funded us with Pulse to do it. Like we didn't have any Pulse, but people wanted it to happen, and so we made it happen. And I think in retrospect, it actually made it fairer and better, because a copy of Zen on any chain where you don't actually spend any effort or time to participate is just fake money. It's just nothing, has no value. But now Zen on Pulse Chain actually has value because it has true organic participation. And what's really interesting about Zen is that we all know that Richard owns like 90% of Pulse. So people are swapping Pulse, they're burning Pulse for Zen that's organically created that no founders have, which is actually an epic statement on Pulse Chain. Like people are literally dropping and burning Pulse for something that they can fully own themselves without any founder having this 90%. And and it's really interesting because a lot of like Pulsicans that were fighting Zen, they're like, I can't believe people are burning Pulse for Zen. It doesn't make any sense. But it actually makes a lot of sense, because if you have a founder allocation of 90 or 95%, of course you want crypto that at least is fair. Where I can't say that Pulse is fair just because Richard owns so much and he can do whatever he wants. So I think that's it was a good thing that it wasn't the copy that's getting all of the attention, because the copy, like, you cannot copy participation. You just cannot copy it between chains. So having it relaunched and giving this liquidity to Zen there in that way is super fair, and I think I'm very, very happy with that decision. But I wouldn't have made that decision if it wasn't for listening to the community. So we always listen and we always take notes and we make our decisions based on that.
Nice.
Jack, I have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Hang on, please. Jack, have you got time for, say, 3 more questions? Jack, can you hear me?
You muted me, so I couldn't speak. Yeah, I'll take 2 more questions, then I really have to go.
All right, so we've got we have 2 more questions. So yeah, do you want to go, Honeydeals?
Thanks, Leo. Thanks for the space. Thanks, Jack, Zensu, everybody. It was great also with Trevon, by the way. Very cool. So on what you just said about listening, I just want to say one thing and just leave one question. One thing is that I'm thankful for your listening. It was a tough week to be here, take these questions. And at the same time, I want to thank you to like standing and sticking with what you know is best also. Keeping listening, but taking it as feedback and input and filtering, and not letting any influence to sway your project and the reason.
He is
Yeah.
listening because there will be some changes. So
Oh no, I know, but and I know, like and that's cool. So in regards to one of the changes that kind of occurred today, I guess, with the allocation with the xeNFTs, right? So I was just wondering, you just said earlier that the xeNFTs are going to stay for Moon Party specific dates, or is it ongoing thing as the 333? And the other thing, a little squeezed here to get it in, but it's in regards to, I mentioned this, the liquidity, the question of if everybody's if everybody's burning their NFTs, how is the liquidity going to stay well supplied? And is it important for the adoption during those 333 days? And kind of tying in with what forget his name, Zen Degen was saying about extending the period of time. Just an idea, feedback again. Imagine like there was a date and on the first day from the first day, max term is the term. This is just an idea. So instead of 333, let's say it's 475. And the NFTs were not burnt on a daily basis. Wouldn't that incentivize people to supply liquidity so that interested parties that want to come into X1 and maybe have not any mints, have no Zen and want to buy, it would kind of lubrify the whole thing so that they can get in and more TVL gets in during that whole phase? Did you think about that part, like the numbers and if it matters, how much money comes in? Or is it not, it's just about the amount of people?
Well,
Like, yeah.
I think the increase in the community size increase is more important than singular individuals pumping the price, because they can pump and then they can dump, and we're left with net zero increase in TVL, so to speak. So I would say I would rather have more people come in, and even people without Zen that are needing to buy Zen to get into XN. That would be better than, for example, a bunch of people with a lot of Zen just end up burning all of it, and then ultimately over the long period of time not giving by their presence not giving the ecosystem as much value, because the value of ecosystem is really done through the Mad Caps law, which is the network effect.
Right. Okay, that's cool. That's what I was wondering, if that's what you thought. And so do you feel that to take away, let's say, the utility, because this pump, but if it pumps so much because there's no more, everybody's burning their Zen and the liquidity gets so thin, like the utility of people selling their Zen, I guess, if the price goes high. So, okay, you're saying that it adds up and people will be able to get in even though the liquidity is getting burnt, basically.
Yeah, I think the having it's like this. The liquidity on the Uniswap right now is relatively low, but it's not necessarily because people are not buying. It also means that people are not selling either. So every time liquidity jumps, I actually saw a Zen price rally. So that tells me that there's a lot of Zen holders that are keeping Zen away from Uniswap. And so whenever there's any sort of interesting events that occur, a lot of people just put up the liquidity in just because they want to participate either in providing the liquidity and earning yield, or just selling high and buying low, that sort of thing. So I would say that the liquidity definitely will increase as the hotness of Zen increases too. Like if it moves rapidly, then I see the liquidity actually not diminish, but to get higher. In terms of absolute numbers, I don't think we should really be paying attention to those numbers. Like right now, there's 12 trillion Zen or something like that. That actually does not mean anything, because it's really just need to be looked at the actual market cap. So unlike other coins, Zen has true market cap because it has no founder allocation. So it's basically everybody's like really just pricing it fairly the way it should be, and that's good. And so what I'm thinking that what would happen is as the auction starts for 333, a lot of people that don't have Zen, or maybe they do have Zen, they will end up burning it and buying more, and then ultimately will actually bring even more liquidity into the ecosystem, not less. So it will not reduce liquidity. It will engage more people that provide liquidity.
Okay, cool. Sounds great to me. I get it. Thank
Okay,
you.
guys, thank you for your questions. I really got to run.
Can I
Cleo,
can I
you've
ask
been
just one
amazing.
question?
No, hang on.
Can I ask,
I'll say around
I've been
a bit
waiting for
longer.
quite a while. I've been
Zentopia,
waiting for. Yeah,
hang on,
thank.
hang
He
on.
said he's got to go.
Yeah, so Jack, thank you. Could we hold another one on June the 30th, so in 2 weeks' time, so we can, all your Zenians can congregate like today and hit you up with some questions? Would you be happy with that?
Yeah, I would be happy to do that for sure.
Sweet! It's been awesome. And on one final note, today we've had the release of the DB's NFTs first light paper, and we're going to be holding a space on Sunday, this coming Sunday at 7:30 UK time. So it'd be cool if you maybe showed up. But Jack and Zen too, honestly, I was shitting my pants, and I've got big pants about doing today's space. But yeah, it was brilliant, and I hope you like the intro. I've got a load of cool, badass intros lined up for you, Jack.
It was an amazing intro, the best one yet. Thank you.
Did you like it? Sweet.
I like it.
All right, so we'll plug it in for June 30th, the next Kevin space. So yeah, thanks, Jack.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you guys soon, and of course, DM me or Telegram me or whatever you guys want. I try to read all my messages. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Cheers, Jack. Sweet. So
Zen,
yeah.
you had your hand up for your hand up for a bit.
To is it VMPX is considered fair by the team, or